bit more, which one was talking about right there, was CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Shan Woo. So, Shan, Giuliani says that the president, they'd be like open to agreeing to answer questions on obstruction of justice, even though he wasn't comfortable with that idea a couple days ago, as long as the questions aren't, and this is what he told Dana Bash, aren't quote unquote perjury traps. What does that mean to you?
That's a good question. It could mean different things to different lawyers. A perjury trap is this notion of, if you as the prosecutor already know that the person you're questioning has given an answer, or you have information that has them locked in, and you also have a pretty strong idea they're going to lie about that, that's the perjury trap. And it's not a perjury trap to have an investigation and ask questions you don't know the answers to. So that's not a perjury trap. That's Giuliani saying that he is worried about his client likes to speak off the cuff, go in different directions, and lie. So he's worried he'll talk himself into a perjury trap. But that's not really a perjury trap. Perjury trap is you already have the info, you know that the person's going to lie, and you already know how to close that trap on them.
I'm so confused, but you did such a good job, Shan, on that one. But on the most basic level, would Robert Mueller agree to something like this? Like, I just don't see I don't see a universe where you say, okay, no perjury traps, let's sit down now.
Yeah, because no self-respecting prosecutor is going to agree that they're setting a perjury trap.
That's exactly the point. Right? Exactly.
They're going to say, we want the truth, we want to ask you questions. Of course there's no perjury trap, just have your client tell the truth. So that kind of thing is just spin on Giuliani's part. I mean, they could certainly negotiate some parameters of these events are off limits or this timeline's off limit, but that general concept of perjury trap is really quite meaningless, frankly.
And Shan, with this, I don't know, moment we are in the back and forth, if this is kind of what Giuliani is going back with, do you think that they are any closer or any further away from the president actually making a decision or being questioned by Robert Mueller's team?
The only thing that they're closer to is Giuliani's plan to drag things out closer to the midterm elections. That's what they go back with.
Oh, well. Stand by to stand by. Shan, actually, stand by. We have more coming in on a very different yet related topic, so stick with me. Rick Gates, he's just finished testifying in the first trial to come from Robert Mueller's investigation. The star witness in the fraud trial of President Trump's former campaign chairman, the star witness admitted to lying, cheating, and stealing in a brutal cross-examination. CNN's Joe Johns is outside the courthouse of Paul Manafort's trial with the very latest. So, Joe, what is the very latest?
Well, as you said, I mean, it was testimony that spanned over 3 days of brutal cross-examination, and the final questions for Rick Gates from both the prosecution and the defense really sort of went to his credibility and truthfulness. Both sides asking questions about that. Probably the most interesting question that came out of it, as we know, Gates testified yesterday that he'd had an affair, and that sort of played into how he used money that came out of the lying and cheating. Well, today, the defense counsel, Kevin Dowling, asked Gates whether he'd had four extramarital affairs in the recross. And before he got a chance to answer, the judge brought everyone to the bench, and they had a discussion about it. The Downing made the point that he was asking that question because he wanted to know whether Gates had lied to the special counsel's office. If he had lied, that could at least potentially invalidate the plea agreement he asked to testify. So the judge did not allow that question in, and when it was re-asked in terms of, have you had a long and I should just read this to you real quickly before we go. Does your secret life span over many years? And Gates said, yes, I've made many mistakes over many years. So that question did not get answered about the 4 extramarital affairs, Kate.
This thing got nasty really, really fast. All right, Joe, thank you so much. And this thing is moving at breakneck speed. Let me bring back Shan Woo for more on this, who had, for a brief period of time, represented this star witness, Rick Gates. So, Shan, does it surprise you how things went down with this cross-examination of Gates?
Not really, and as usual, I'm not speaking from any confidences or privilege material, just as a spectator watching this. One would expect that Kevin Downey would bear down as hard as he did. That's a classic way to cross-examine a cooperating witness. I think the big strategy question is, should the prosecution have tried to take the sting out of the affair by bringing it up ahead of time, the way they did by having Rick disclose his trying to steal or his actual stealing from Manafort?
Yeah.
By not doing that, it gives the defense a little bit of a "I gotcha" moment, which they've really followed up on. And really, from their point of view, getting to ask that question does a lot of damage even without the answer to it.
And that's what I was
Simply
going to
putting it
ask
out
you,
there,
Shan.
right?
Even if they threw it out there and they weren't, and then they were pulled to the bench and weren't able to get the answer, it's still out there, right?
Yeah, it's still out there. The questions themselves are not evidence, but for the effect on the jury, that's already out there. And it'd be interesting to look at the transcript and see whether the prosecution tried to object or whether Judge Ellis, as he has been prone to do, was taking care to make sure that he kept things on the straight and narrow and they didn't go too far afield.
Yeah, Judge Ellis is very interesting to watch throughout this and listen to throughout this trial. Let's talk about him maybe tomorrow. Shan, thank you so much. A lot of breaking news coming in.